Hey everybody, this is Brian with Inspiring How You See That. We're the channel that talks about all different kinds of music and entertainment and interviews some of your favorite artists. And today we have a very special guest. We have our buddy Corey Taylor with us. And Corey, you've had a lifetime of wrestling.
Yep.
And we kind of wanted to talk about that today. So you served in the U.S. military in both the Marine Corps and the Army National Guard.
Correct. Yep.
And you were actually part of the Marine Corps wrestling team.
Yep. What a lot of people don't understand is when you join the military, they do have to offer you a lot of the same opportunities you'd have as civilian, which is education and athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the Olympics, there's probably at least one athlete on every team that is represented by a military person in some capacity, whether track and field or whatever.
Okay. Now, is that U.S. or you're talking worldwide?
Worldwide,
Okay.
but mainly the U.S. Like we have, especially like a lot of the rifle people, the riflemen and women.
Sure.
They're Army, Navy, Air Force, they're whatever. A lot of the track and field. On the Marine Corps, we had the unique opportunity that if you tried out for the Army wrestling team and made the team, it was a year-round duty. So once you got on that team, that was your job for the entire time you were on until you got beat out.
Okay. So was that pretty much, for lack of a better term, was that your MOS in the military?
So my actual MOS was I was always, every Marine is a rifleman, so I was always an
Okay.
0311. But my main job was I was actually an administrative clerk. I was an 0121. But once I tried out and made the wrestling team, then my MOS changed to Marine Welfare and Recreation.
Okay.
And then that was my job, Monday through Friday, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, was to go work out, compete around the world, and try to make a world or Olympic team.
Nice. Now, and forgive me, I'm not a wrestling expert. I know there's different types of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the types that you specialized in?
So we focused mainly on Greco-Roman, which is offensive and defensive moves from the waist up.
Okay.
But there's three main styles. Everybody's more familiar with folk style, which is what high school and collegiate do.
Okay.
But then in the summer, you do freestyle and Greco. Freestyle is similar to folk style, where you can attack the whole body, but you get points based on how high you throw people. And then Greco is, like I said, all upper body, and the majority of the points are scored by throws.
Okay. Now, is it a lot of leverage? I mean, that's what you're...
Leverage, how hips are a huge thing, and your center of gravity, but mainly balance. We do a lot of pre-warm-up stuff we did. We would do a lot of, ironically, acrobatics. So we do a lot of backflips, somersaults, round-offs. We really focused a lot on acrobatics.
Nice. Now, I'm assuming that you wrestled in high school, which prepared you for that.
I actually got a late start. Most people when they start wrestling, they either start their freshman year or even younger when they're 5 years old.
Sure.
I'm from a small town in southeast Missouri, Jackson, Missouri. My idea, I really wanted to play basketball. I thought I was going to be the next Spud Webb. That's showing my age.
And height.
Yeah, and height.
I'm the same, I get it.
He was 5'4". At that time, I was 5'4". I really wanted to be the next Spud Webb. Muggsy Bogues, I don't even think it was born yet.
Sure.
But Spud Webb could dunk. I'm like, I'm going to dunk. And I even went to basketball camp at SEMO, Southeast Missouri State University. And I got cut from the basketball team my freshman year because I wasn't tall enough. Crushed me. Well, my wrestling coach at the time, Coach Steve Wachter, stopped me in the hallway and said, "Boy, have you ever wrestled?" I remember it clear as day. "Boy, have you ever wrestled before?" Or he goes, "Boy, I hear you got cut from the basketball team." I'm like, "Yeah, Coach, I didn't make the team." "Boy, you ever thought about wrestling?" I'm like, "Coach, I've never wrestled before." He goes, "Doesn't matter, I'll make you champion." And for me, I'm thinking what most kids think. I'm thinking there's a ring with ropes and I got to wear a Speedo. And
you're Hulk Hogan.
I'm coming off the top rope,
Which sounds awesome.
And I'm like, and again, I was short. I was maybe 90-something pounds at the time.
Like Rey Mysterio or somebody like that.
I was short. I got made fun of because I was always the shortest one in school, in grade school. And I just didn't. For me, I didn't want to. It was a self-conscious thing. I didn't want to get my butt whooped in front of everybody, and so I didn't wrestle my freshman year. Then, because at my high school or at my school, freshmen had their own building.
Okay.
high school wasn't for, it was on the other side of town. Well, then my sophomore year, tried out for basketball again. And now most of the guys were juniors, seniors, had hit their growth spurts.
Right.
I never hit mine. And I'm like, I'm never going to play. And so one day I just went to the head coach, after I finished the practice. I said, Coach, I think I want to try wrestling. I just don't think I'll ever get to play. He goes, I figured you'd say that. So Coach Venable let me go. He understood, and I got my stuff. I walked over from the gym over to where the wrestling team was, and as soon as I walked in the door, Coach Walker came up to me, goes, I knew you'd be over here. And I said, you know what, Coach, I think I want to try wrestling. He goes, all right, here's where you can go get you some shoes, and then I'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, all right. And then from then on, man, it has been the most, and I'll probably get emotional at some point but it's been the most, I really don't know where I would have been. Like,
Sure.
It has helped with my, with depression. Wrestling has allowed me to travel the world, do things that I never thought I would be able to do, and meet some of the most genuine, best people that I've ever met. And wrestling is such a small community that the people that I've met have been the most genuine and most best people of my life. And some of them have gone on to do very great things, like Sarah Mcmahon, who's the first female wrestler to win an Olympic medal for women's freestyle wrestling. She now fights in the UFC.
Nice.
She's been on a lot of pay-per-views. I was actually, my brother called me and said, guess who's wrestling? My niece has started wrestling. They're doing the first ever all-girls team in Fairfield, Ohio. She's trying out for wrestling. First person I sent a message to was Sarah, and her and I talked for probably an hour and a half last night, just back and forth about the sport and the benefits, and you either
Sure.
love it or you hate it. There's no in between. You're either all in or you're not.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I played football in high school, and I was a small kid. I was,
too.
I was kind of quiet. I was kind of shy, but I was a little kid, and I didn't think I could do much.
I was the opposite. I was voted class clown 2 years in a row, holding that record.
Now for me, and I didn't have the kind of, I wasn't a great football player, but I learned so much about myself that I can do things that I didn't think I could. And that just really opened me, and I came out of my shell. And even though I never really was a starter, I never was a great football player, I think it was one of the greatest things I ever did, because I realized, hey, I can take a hit. I'm okay. I can do things. I can push myself. And I think that was, I think every kid should do something athletically.
Absolutely.
It helps you just physically, but just emotionally. Like, hey, I'm tougher than I thought I was.
I agree. So in high school, ironically, I played football before I wrestled. And the only reason I played football is because I had two really good friends, and one is my best friend. And again, with athletics, we still talk. I just went and stayed with them over 4th of July weekend. My buddy Stacy Langston and Brian Foster, they were my best friends, and they played football. Well, I wanted to hang out with my friends. Yep. And I was, like I said, I wrestled 103 pounds all 3 years in high school. And I played football. Yep. I did it just because I wanted to be with my friends.
Exactly.
And it's amazing when you first get hit, you're like, this is gonna suck. Like it's slow motion, and you
I'm
can
alive.
see it. Yeah,
I didn't
and you
die.
can see it coming at you, and you get lit up. And you're
I remember that moment. I remember that
bubbles and everything.
very moment. It was at practice. And
John Smith hit me.
Yeah. I had this guy, Jeremy. I can't remember his name. I know his first name was Jeremy. He was a big dude. He was like 6. I was tiny. And he blindsided me. And I remember I'm running. The next thing I see is Scott.
Yep.
And I'm airborne.
I saw my feet first.
Yeah.
And then
I landed and I thought,
I'm good. I'm okay.
All right.
I can do this.
Work pretty good.
I can do this. This leather helmet's awesome now.
We're not that old.
Yeah. No, and it did. I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And, I didn't start. I don't even think I was second string, but, I loved it. I loved the camaraderie. I loved it.
Absolutely.
With my friends. And it did keep me in shape for wrestling.
Sure. Well, in the discipline, you learn discipline,
Yeah.
personal, you learn teamwork, like you mentioned.
Teamwork, 2-a-days.
Yep.
Southeast Missouri weather in August, or I don't remember when we started, like towards when you start getting to go to school, you're doing the 2-a-days. It's
Yep.
just hot and humid in Southeast Missouri, and
Puked
you
a
don't
lot.
want to go. Oh, you don't want to go, and then you got to put on all that crap, and then, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Absolutely.
I loved it. I'd go back. If everybody else says, if you have a time machine, would you go back? I know exactly the date and time I'd go back.
Yep.
I definitely would not have a girlfriend the entire time in high school. Looking back on it now, I would just focus more on, but that's living and learning
Sure.
stuff.
Sure. I've always felt, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I've always thought kids should do something in athletics, and they should do something, whether it's art or music.
Absolutely. I wish, the biggest regret I have is not learning to play piano.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have pushed more into learning to play piano. I play guitar. I'm horrible.
Same here.
I'm horrible. I play guitar, and
But when you can put 5 notes together,
hey, YouTube, the technology now with YouTube and all
they're
the
like,
free
man,
stuff.
I'm Eric Clapton.
I'm Corey Taylor on guitar.
Exactly.
I got a whole thing just without the mask. No, but I wish that was the one. My biggest regret is I wish I would have taken the time, and I wish I would have learned how to play piano.
Sure. Hey, it's never too late.
Oh, man.
You always can.
Yeah, you always can. But man,
I started learning guitar at 39.
I feel like the older you get, the hours of the day shrink.
True. But,
So.
you can always find something. So.
Yeah, you're true. You're true.
But we'll go back to, we got a little off track. I apologize.
Yeah, my ADHD.
Well, we'll go back to the wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about how, that really, and I kind of want to dive into when you joined the military. Do you think that what you learned physically, mentally, from a team standpoint in wrestling, did that help you in your military career?
Yeah, so, once I got on the wrestling team and Coach Walker really started working with me, and Coach Thomas, like I said, I always got made fun of, and I always felt like my height was an issue. And wrestling was the one, or my height and my weight was always a disadvantage. In my whole life, I've always felt that. And once I got on the wrestling team, Coach Walker and Coach Thomas really pounded it in me and instilled in me that for the first time in my life, my height and my weight was an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I could wrestle 103 pounds my entire high school career, and I would just keep getting better and better when a lot of the people that I'm going to wrestle are going to be freshmen, sophomore,
Sure.
and they're going to be just starting out. But they also said that you can't, along with hard work, you're going to have to, when you don't want to do stuff, that's when you need to do stuff.
Exactly.
Because the days that you don't want to do stuff, somebody else, they're probably going to stay home.
You're going to get smoked.
And you're going to get smoked, and you're going to get better. For the longest time, if I had an option of taking an elevator or escalator or stairs, I'd always take the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, in high school, I don't think I ever ate at McDonald's or any fast food places, because I knew that wasn't good for you. Like
Sure.
The little things, I learned that the little things, the attention to detail, when you're wrestling makes a huge difference, and it's really what pushes the elite past the elite.
Yeah.
And even in today's, like at my work, it's the little things that everybody that they don't want to do that I do definitely makes you more successful.
Yep. That's what separates you.
Yeah, like I said, it's the attention to detail stuff.
Absolutely. Now, we were talking, but before we came on here, since you've gotten out of the military, you've actually done a lot with working with youth with wrestling.
So, again, the wrestling community is very small. And my best friend right now, his name's Jake Clark, and he actually just broke a record for qualifying for the Olympic trials. I think he's done it. I mean, God, I can't count how many times he's qualified for the Olympic trials. But he has a youth camp that he does in northern Minnesota. His club is called Wrestle-Jitsu. It's wrestle like WRESTLE, make sure you put the hyphen in, and then Jitsu. But he's on Facebook. But he does a camp, and he has a club. They wrestle. He has, and it's from new people trying out, boys and girls, all the way up to high school.
Okay.
And he does tournaments every year, and he really caters to the wrestler and the parent. So, like, if you want to take I want to take my son or my daughter to a wrestling clinic, but then what? I don't want to travel because I have nothing to do. Like in the winter, he'll do a clinic, and then he'll have an ice fishing tournament with prizes that the parents and the athlete can participate in. We go out the night before, and we'll drill all the holes in the ice, and then you can just go out and you set up, and we provide everything.
Nice.
So anytime he has a big clinic, he always includes me, and I've been very blessed and grateful that he's included me. And we've gone all over the world. We've wrestled, like we've done clinics in Brainerd, Minnesota. We've done it in like this past one. I just did a clinic with him in International Falls, Minnesota, which was on the Ohio-Canadian border.
Okay.
We did. He has tons of stuff up in St. Joe and St. Cloud, Minnesota. But probably the most rewarding is him and I did a clinic for a friend of ours that was from Chuuk, Micronesia. And we did 2 weeks in Chuuk, Micronesia. And we did a whole clinic with a bunch of the people on the island. And that, I think, out of all the clinics we've done, that has been the most rewarding because obviously it's a third world country. Mm-hmm. There's no cell phone service there. The only time I was ever able to get on the phone to contact people, we'd have to go to this little restaurant that the only place that had Wi-Fi. We get on, and the Wi-Fi was horrible. So you couldn't send photos to anybody. You could just send a text message, and it took like 5 minutes for it to go. But
so you were old school there.
Old school, yeah. I was almost like dial up there, but yeah, it's been amazing.
Nice, and you've touched on this a couple times that you've been able to, through both wrestling and your military career, really travel the world.
Yeah, I've been to I think more countries and states at this point. My first tour, I was on an NCAA All-Star team. And we did a 5-city tour. I've been to Plovdiv, Sofia, Varna, and Plovdiv, Bulgaria. Mm-hmm. Then then I wrestled a dual meet against the Italian national team in Milan, Italy. Then we went to Helsinki, Finland, Haparanda, Sweden, St. Petersburg, Russia. Then I came back. And we did Zagreb, Croatia, Frankfurt, Germany, Hawaii. I went to Hawaii with him for a while. And then we did Chuuk, Micronesia. And I think that's it.
Nice.
What was cool is the coolest experience was when we were in Bulgaria. We had a dual meet against the Bulgarian national team in an old ruins from like the BC area where the first wrestling matches were in Bulgaria back then, and it was all
it's almost like ancient Rome.
It was, and they put out wrestling mats, and then you wrestled till the death. Obviously, we wrestled by points, and that was a freestyle.
That poor guy that you killed.
And that was a freestyle tour. So we did freestyle there, but it was awesome. Like the whole city the town came out.
Nice.
And it was really cool, and it was a cultural exchange.
Okay.
So there was more us hanging out with the Bulgarian team,
sure,
and sightseeing and really taking in the culture and swapping like cultures and values and everything, and very minimal wrestling. We'd only practice like maybe once a day, and then we'd had a tournament in each city. Well, not tournament, but we'd have a dual meet in each city.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, as you guys remember, and I asked you this in our first video that we did, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I asked you then what advice you give to a young person looking to go into the military. Mm-hmm. Now I'm kind of thinking back to what I said when I was in football, and I wasn't a great football player. So if you had a wrestler come to you, and they haven't been very successful, they're not the best wrestler, and they come and they say, hey, I don't feel I got a lot out of it because I'm not very good. What would you say to them?
I was never very good. And then one year, I think it was in 2000, I hit a streak. I took, the year 2000, I took a second in freestyle at nationals, at University Nationals. I did third in Greco at University Nationals. And then I won it. And when I was in St. Petersburg, I won a tournament in St. Petersburg, which qualified or designated me as Master of Sport in Russia. You hit streaks, and only if this is really what you want to do.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of parents, they push their kids kids to do stuff the kids don't want to do, but the parents want them to do, or they try to live vicariously through them. Maybe just, again, I don't have kids, but maybe say, look, maybe distill this in them. I can understand if maybe this isn't what you want to do, but finish what you started. See it through at the end of the season. Take the summer, right before the season starts. We'll have a conversation, and if it's something you want to do, then great, but we'll address that later. At least finish what you started.
Sure. And I think that's a great lesson, that even if it's something that, like you said, maybe you're not good at or you don't really want to continue doing, it builds character either way.
Absolutely. You're never going to know until you try.
Exactly. And it may open up, like I talked about, I probably wouldn't be able to do this now where I'm talking to you, talking to others, if I hadn't played football. Because that brought out my personality. That brought out my confidence that wasn't there. And so I think, like you've talked about, and I want to tell kids that, you don't have to be the star.
Oh, no. I never was.
Exactly. Find that thing, but like you said, follow through. You're going to build the character. You're going to regret it if you don't follow through.
Right.
You're always going to feel like, what if?
I never won a tournament my entire time wrestling. The first tournament I ever won was that tournament in Russia. But I loved the sport. I loved, the values and the discipline it instilled in me. And I loved the people and the friendships that I got from it.
Absolutely.
My buddy, in May, he's like, hey, you want to go wrestle at nationals? I'm like, dude, I don't even know what I weigh. He's like, when was the last time you stepped on a scale? I'm like, I don't know. When did I get out of the Marines? I don't know, 02 maybe? And he's like,
do they have the 30 pounds over?
He's like, go step on a scale and call me before you step on it. I want to hear your reaction. I'm like, oh. So I wrestled it at Veterans Nationals.
Nice.
But the point of it is I went down there only thinking I'm going to hang out with my buddy Jake.
Sure.
I ended up running into the all-Marine team. It was me, Jake, Brian Van Hoven, Matt Shirk. I ended up splitting a room with Matt Shirk.
Nice.
And we all wrestled on the Marine Corps team at some point. And that's just the people I wrestled with. So I ran into 3 guys that I wrestled with. They're there with their kids. And we just had a blast. I got butt kicked, but we had a blast. I was 3 weight classes up. So out of shape.
15 years?
Yeah. I went sliding into a singlet. The only way I can... I'm 45 now, so the only thing I can...
We won't show that picture, no. We promise.
Well, I'll give you a visual. Just picture a can of biscuits. When you pop the biscuits, that's what it was like in me in the singlet. And we were laughing. The clinic I was just at a couple months ago, Jake brought that up. He's like, hey, when you got in that singlet, how'd you feel? I'm like, dude, first of all, it was hard getting in it. I did not look good.
But darn well, you're like, yeah, I
got this.
That's awesome. Corey, thank you again. This has been a blast.
Oh, it's been great.
And before we go, is there anything else you'd like to tell viewers?
Oh, no, for anybody looking for a nice, inexpensive wrestling clinic that you're going to get quality clinicians. Like I said, my buddy Jake has he has a club up in northern Minnesota. It's called Wrestle-Jitsu. It's how you spell wrestle with a hyphen, and then jitsu, like jujitsu, but just the jitsu part. Look him up on Facebook. He's always posting. He has clinics. If you go up and do a clinic, you're guaranteed to get at least 4 or 5 matches. You're guaranteed to get some quality wrestling in. He has some really cool. I know kids like the awards. He has really cool awards. One tournament the outstanding wrestler, got a Game of Thrones throne, an actual
Oh,
throne.
That'd be sweet.
You know, look him up on Facebook. He does some amazing clinics. Anytime he asks me to help, I always go up and help him. But yeah, you know, at least try it. See if you like it. You're never going to know unless you try.
Absolutely. And Corey, thank you again.
No,
This was
no problem.
amazing.
It's been fun.
And guys, we'll put all the links below, everything that Corey was talking about. You know, reach out to him if you have any questions.
Yeah.
And as always, thank you so much. Let us know what you think of this. And I think this is going to be something that we're going to do some more of. And we think you guys will like it. And we love you guys. God bless. And rock on.
Have a good one.